For more now, we turn to CBS News senior national security analyst Fran Townsend. She previously served as Homeland Security Advisor to President George W. Bush, and she's here right now. So, Fran, this is major. Yeah. The U.S. and the other countries in the region have been grappling with North Korea for a while. And we heard from Rex Tillerson. He says that, the U.S. is only seeking peaceful denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and an end to threatening actions by North Korea. And we've heard from the U.S. that all options are on the table. We keep hearing that strategic patience is over. The time for strategic patience is over. But a military action, is that really a reasonable option?
No, but it's you don't want to take it off the table.
Right.
But the problem with it always has been that if you take a military strike, you're unlikely to be able to take out all the sites at once, which means he has the second strike option, which is really why he has it. This is not, I don't think the real threat that we anticipate is him to use it in a first strike option against the continental United States. But we do worry, it sort of constrains our military options once we are confident he has a nuclear deployable intercontinental ballistic missile. And that we're not sure of. We know he's now got the delivery mechanism, the ICBM, but can he actually marry the nuclear warhead to that and successfully launch it through two phases and have a successful reentry? That we don't know. But the fact that he's got the delivery vehicle is a game changer, as you say. Right,
and it certainly seems like their progression is accelerating, that the U.S. was somewhat caught off guard by this latest test. Is there a problem with intelligence here? I mean, are we watching this country day and night?
Well, but that's right, we are, but it's a denied area, right? It is very difficult to penetrate. What you really want to do is penetrate inside the nuclear program. And as always with human intelligence, it's very difficult in this environment to be able to get that level of granularity. Now, we have other intelligence methods, satellites and all sorts of technical intelligence that we collect against them that does give us some indication and warning. I wouldn't say that this missile launch was an entire surprise. There were indications both coming from North Korea and the U.S. government that we were anticipating a missile launch. But this was, July 4th. It was pretty in your face.
Yeah, definitely. Much of the talk has been about China, that China really holds the diplomatic keys here, that the country could not function, North Korea could not function without China's support. Is China doing enough? Can China really do as much as we're expecting that country to do?
Well, they can. They just don't seem to be willing to, at least up to now. And they've made clear in their joint statement with the Russians that they don't want us to do more. Here's the problem, that we sort of dance around in policy and diplomacy. The Chinese are more concerned about a greater U.S. presence on the Korean Peninsula than they are against the North Koreans. And so they've been hedging their bets. We know that 80% of the finances and supply chain for the North Korean program run through China. So when you ask, can China do more? Absolutely. And I expect this will be a real topic of conversation on the margins of the G20 when President Trump talks to Xi and to Putin. I would hope that that's not the only topic, right? We have other issues with both the Chinese and the Russians. The Russians, for example, we want it to be sure that President Trump talks to him about cyber and the cyber hacks. We want to be sure he talks to him about Syria. And so you hope that this does not sort of suck all the oxygen out of those meetings.
Yeah. So do you buy the argument from China that a destabilized North Korea could result in, who knows, maybe a nuclear attack? Who knows where that would go? And keeping the regime strong in North Korea is actually benefiting security.
Look, I think it's fair to say nobody wants to see an unstable Korean Peninsula. Nobody wants to see sort of a disorderly collapse of that regime. But on the other hand, I think what we've learned over the course of several administrations is diplomacy and sanctions alone have not worked. And so people are looking for what's that next lever to pull, and there are not a lot of good options. The one thing that we do know is that we have a missile intercept capability. We're putting the THAAD program in South Korea, but nobody's got a lot of confidence in that. And I expect what you will see in Washington now is a call for increased investment in missile intercept capability, so we can have confidence that we're able to protect ourselves.
Right, so if it can't be an offense because no one wants to drop that domino, that first domino, then a strong defense.
Correct.
We were talking about the president. He's heading to the G20 summit. You mentioned some of the things that he needs to talk about. How do you, if you had to give him advice about navigating this, what would you say? So
look, this is going to be a delicate dance. Yeah. You know, we find oftentimes that we cooperate with people we have major disagreements with because we have a strategic threat. North Korea represents a strategic threat both for Russia and the United States. And while there are many disagreements at the moment, and we are very angry at Russia's cyber aggression, we may be able to, he's going to have to find a way to be able to work with them on North Korea while still addressing those other issues.
Yeah, it's going to be dicey for sure. Fran Townsend, thank you very much.
Thanks.